All right, welcome back. Episode 10 of the College Football Payoff podcast.
Week 12.
Yes, we are back. And last week, a lot of games canceled due to COVID. Kind of knew it was coming at some point with it being flu season and all. But there were some big games affected. You know, Ohio State, Alabama, Texas A&M, Georgia.
Yep. Georgia.
That was one of my games, so that got canceled. But looks like we're sort of in the clear a little bit this week. We still have a few games that are getting canceled here and there, but for the most part, we're back.
I think the aftershocks of all the college Halloween parties are probably dying down.
That's
now,
true.
So
and
I think we should have a pretty good outlook for the rest of the year.
And I think now, don't be surprised if you see more teams taking the approach that Ohio State took today, where they're not allowing anybody at games. No families or nothing, which is smart. I mean, yeah, the parents want to see their kids play and all, but at the same time, would you rather not go and let them play or go and, end up costing them a season?
And I heard Justin Fields is like living by himself also.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's completely secluded from the rest of society. And that's what I would want out of my quarterback.
Well, he also doesn't want to affect his draft stock, so
yeah.
That's a smart thing on
He's
him.
going top 10.
Absolutely.
Top 5. Top 1?
I think he's better. I think he will get drafted over Trevor Lawrence.
You think he'll get drafted over Trevor Lawrence?
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
That's a talk for another day. That's our end of the season.
Yeah, we'll have that talk later.
Draft podcast. Yeah. All right. Let's go over our recap, and then we'll get right into picks so that we can get this ball rolling. Last week, I was 3-1. Again, I had that Georgia game canceled. But 3-1 last week, 32-29 overall. I'm up 5.1 units. Wins were the over 54.5 in Colorado Stanford, the over 66.5 in Wake Forest UNC. That one was actually close to hitting in the first half. That was a high-scoring game. I think they had like 112 points. And then West Virginia -3. My lone loss was my Moneyline Moneymakers, SMU. That game was tough. I also had 2 parlays going. I was just waiting on SMU to hit, and that loss cost me a couple hundred. But Moneyline Moneymakers now sitting at 5-5, even on units, so it's basically clean slate. Let's get the ball rolling again on it. All right, so that was my card. What did you have your way?
Gave out 5 picks last week. Ended up going 2-2-1, so 500 on the week in picks. Had BC plus 14. That was a push. Had Iowa, Minnesota over 58. Lost that one on Friday night. Indiana -7.5 against Michigan State. That was an easy win. Kentucky -17. They had multiple chances to cover that game. Blew it and almost blew their lead in the fourth quarter there against Vanderbilt. And then Marshall -23.5 last week. That was a pretty easy cover.
Yeah.
So 2-2-1. And looking back on these lines moved a lot on Friday night and Saturday morning, especially. We even saw BC plus 14 go down to 11.5. So if you're really trailing these picks, if you're wanting to make smart bets, trusting your gut, Wednesday and Thursday is probably the latest you should be putting those bets in. You're just losing too much line value, losing half a point on pretty much every game we give out on Wednesday, Thursday. And, I mean, we can even look at BC last week. We lost 2.5 points off of that by Saturday morning. So if you want the best value out of your line, if you're trailing these picks, bet them when you hear it. But
yeah, as soon as you can. If you want to play the picks, you got to play them as soon as you hear them. If you do listen and you wait, Friday night, Saturday morning to place them and the line has changed, reach out, Twitter, DM, comment on the YouTube page, whatnot, and we will kind of answer any questions you may have if there's a big drastic line change. But for the most part, try to get them in as early as you can. All right, let's get into the card. Let's stop wasting time. I'll start with Tennessee at Auburn. Auburn is a 10.5-point favorite. The over-under set at 50.5. This is a 7 o'clock kickoff, and it's on ESPN. Tennessee, all season they've had major issues at quarterback, and as a result, they've struggled. Currently, they're on a 4-game losing streak, and their head coach, Jeremy Pruitt, might be on the hot seat. Their losses, the losses include Kentucky and Arkansas, both games in which they were favored. And Jarrett Guarantano, that struggling quarterback, he may not be able to play due to a concussion, which last week if they would have played against A&M, he definitely wouldn't have played. So it's next man up mentality, and that falls on true freshman Harrison Bailey. But the Volunteers' offense is still a huge question mark in this game, and they're going up against an improved Auburn defense. This is also a night game on ESPN on the road. Tennessee does not fare well in night games or road games or games on ESPN for that matter. Tennessee's second worst in the conference in total offense. They put up 318 yards a game and yards per play, 4.74 a play. Auburn's defense is ranked 32nd in the nation in scoring. They allow 22 points a game, while the Tennessee offense is 107th in scoring just below 21 a game. And in these during this 4-game skid, they only scored 14.5 points per game. So on the other side of the ball, you're looking at Auburn's offense, and they're showing success. And as much as I dislike Bo Nix, he does have this offense clicking. They're averaging 405 yards a game, 5.8 yards per play. They're also +4 in the turnover margin, which is third in the SEC. And they have a freshman running back, Tank Bigsby, who is leading all Power 5 freshman running backs with 503 yards, averages about 83 a game, and he's also leading the conference in kickoff return yards at 306. So Bigsby and the rest of the Auburn rushing game will be facing a pretty bad Tennessee rushing defense that ranks 62nd in stopping the run. And let's not forget that Bo Nix is somewhat of a rushing attack. He has 275 yards on 62 carries and 3 touchdowns this year. Tennessee's defense also gives up 31.5 points per game, so it's pointing towards an Auburn cover. Tennessee's offense is questionable going up against that solid defense, like I said. Auburn's offense and special teams are going to be the difference. They're going to propel them to a 2-score win. Tennessee 0-4 against the spread in their last 4 games, 0-4 against the spread in their last 4 conference games, 0-4 against the spread in their last 4 games following an against the spread loss, while Auburn is 5-1 against the spread in their last 6 following a bye week. We're going to go Auburn minus 10.5 in this one.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's really the only side you can back in this game.
Yeah.
So, all right. I'm going to take it to a Friday night game for us. I'm going to take it down to Tulsa, Oklahoma. Laying 6.5 points at home, night game. I'm rolling with Tulsa here for a lot of reasons. They're coming off a huge victory over SMU, and although we kind of historically look at that as a letdown spot, I think this kind of really shows that they're a dominant force in the AAC, shows that they're going to be playing for a conference championship here. They have a lot to lose. They have a lot more to lose than Tulane. I really don't see Tulsa dropping off this week, even after the huge win. We trust their quarterback, Zach Smith. Ended up winning the game for him last week. Sorry, Dan. That's a little PTSD
it's all right.
But he's 96 for 156, 1,249 yards, 10 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. And they're pretty strong on the ground, too, with Prince in the backfield with 336 yards, 2 touchdowns. And then if we look on the other side of the ball with Tulane, they're also off of a solid win. They beat Army last week, 38-12, and a lot of people were really impressed with this sort of win. But looking back at their schedule, it's really not that impressive. They've already played the triple option team in Navy. You're literally just playing the same exact team in Army with a little bit better personnel and more practice. I wasn't impressed that much last week. But these teams do have a lot of common opponents. I don't see how this game should be Tulsa minus 6.5. I have it closer to Tulsa minus 10.5. But if we look back to earlier this year, both of these teams played Eastern Carolina. Eastern Carolina ended up losing to Tulane by 17 points and only losing to Tulsa by 4. So maybe that comp kind of threw off the line a little bit. But I really like Tulsa here. They got a great defense, easily the best defense in the AAC, if it's not for Cincinnati, because Cincinnati's pretty dominant too. But Tulsa doesn't have the sample size of games that Cincinnati's had. I really like Tulsa here. Off the big win, give me Tulsa minus 6.5.
Yeah, and Tulsa, I think, is the biggest. I'll say probably one of the biggest threats to Cincinnati, the way that they're playing in the AAC. But with the way they treated SMU last week, I would back them this week, but I'm not going to play them just on principle alone. But good pick. All right. Next one, Illinois at Nebraska. Nebraska's a 15.5-point favorite. Over-under set at 59.5. This is a noon kick on the Big Ten Network. This is a matchup where both teams have one win on the year, and they were underdogs in those wins. So how does it make sense that one of them would be favored by more than 2 scores? The team that is favored is also dealing with a running back who left last week's game early and has basically been non-existent this season. And they have a quarterback carousel going on. Nebraska is coming off an upset win against Penn State. That would have been impressive if Penn State had actually won a game this year. Starting running back Dedrick Mills is questionable. And like I said, he's basically non-existent. He's averaged 3.1 yards per carry, and he doesn't even lead the team in rushing. That belongs to the new starting freshman quarterback, Luke McCaffrey. Yeah, he is the brother to Christian McCaffrey, just like every announcer will bash that into your brain during every single telecast. But McCaffrey's more of a running threat than a passing threat. Now, a bright spot here for Nebraska is that they are going up against an Illinois defense that gives up yards and points. They give up around 34 points per game, but that doesn't bother me as much when I look at the numbers for Nebraska's offense. They only score an average of 20 points per game. They're 85th in total offense. They average 370 yards a game. So if we flip over to Illinois, they're coming off that upset win last week as well. But their upset win was against basically a re-emerging Rutgers team. So how crazy is it to think about this? In 2020 Big Ten football, this gives us phrases like the 0-4 Penn State Nittany Lions and the re-emerging Rutgers programs. It's ass backwards.
Pretty on point for 2020. Though.
It really is. But anyways, Illinois is getting their starting quarterback back from the ridiculous 21-day COVID quarantine. Brandon Peters is going to come back. He should provide a spark for his squad. The Fighting Illini, they have been surging on the ground. They have the 29th best rushing attack in the nation, averaging just over 205 yards per game. And they're going to be going up against the 97th ranked rushing defense. Nebraska gives up over 200 a game. So running back Chase Brown, who is averaging 7.1 a carry, and their backup quarterback who actually played while Peters was missing time, Isaiah Williams, could factor into the game plan this week after rushing for 192 and a touchdown last week. Running game of Illinois and the failure to stop the run for Nebraska is going to result in long, sustained drives for the Illini. The Huskers give up 32 points a game, and they score 20 a game. 15.5-point spread is way too many points for a team that can't score and can't stop the run. Throw in the fact that Illinois is 4-0 against the spread in their last 4 following a straight-up win, and Nebraska is 1-4 against the spread in their last 5 games as a favorite. I'll gladly take the Fighting Illini plus the points in this one.
We're fighting.
Oh, yes, finally.
No, it's okay. I have the same exact game. You literally said everything that I was going to say. But I see one factor here that you're overlooking that you hate. That's this kid Luke McCaffrey, son. Brother of Dylan McCaffrey.
Yeah, and
brother
Christian
of Christian McCaffrey.
Yes,
if you didn't know who that was.
We know.
But yeah, he didn't start the first game. He didn't start the second game. They're finally starting him now. This team has been a little different since they finally started him. They actually have a win. So they lost the first 2 games with their starting veteran quarterback. He wasn't really that great. Luke McCaffrey brings that dual threat option, and when they put him in, they beat Penn State. Penn State is honestly probably the best 0-4 team that I've seen in the last decade. I mean, they really have been hit. They only returned 4 starters this year. on defense. 2 of those guys ended up opting out. They have nobody for Sean Clifford to throw to and no running game. Nebraska should have won that game last week. But on the other side of the ball, or on the other hand, they went to Northwestern, ended up losing. It's hard to win there. And then they played Ohio State to open the year. I mean, they went against a team that is on a completely other level than any other team in the Big Ten. They held tough against them. And if we look at the other side of the ball, Illinois got murdered by Wisconsin. They lost to an unhealthy Purdue team. They got murdered by a terrible Minnesota team. We'll get to that maybe later, but Minnesota is so bad. And then they beat, a reemerging Rutgers team. Give me Luke McCaffrey in the 15.5 points. It's a ballsy play, but, man, I love the kid. I love watching this guy.
I let you finish, but you said Luke McCaffrey's a dual-threat quarterback?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, he can run the ball, but his passing stats, do you happen to know what they were last week?
Yeah.
Try completing 13 passes for 150 yards, a touchdown and an interception. That doesn't sound like a threat to me in the air.
He's a threat, trust me.
He's a running.
His brother throw the ball. He can run.
He's not his
He
brother.
can run like his older brother Christian, and he can throw like his older brother Dylan.
No, I don't think he's a dual-threat quarterback. I think he's a threat running the ball, but passing, no way.
Yeah, I'm a little worried about Nebraska on the other side of the ball when it comes to the rushing yards, but I'll give you that one. But just give me Luke McCaffrey. Give me Scott Frost. Give me at home. Illinois got their one win they're going to get this year last week. They already know they're getting blown out this game. It's just hopefully they can not cover the 15.5.
All right, so we're fighting. That's going to be a fun game for us. It's not going to be a fun game to watch. It's probably going to be a terrible game, but
Luke will make it interesting.
Yeah, I'm sure he will. All right. Next game, I'll go ahead and get, let's see, Virginia Tech at Pittsburgh. Virginia Tech's a 3.5-point favorite. Over-under set at 55. 4 o'clock kick on the ACC network. So we got a couple 4-4 teams this weekend, and a couple teams that have not lived up to what preseason experts thought they should be at. Still, we mentioned Virginia Tech. We don't know their identity. They don't know their identity. Pittsburgh has been pretty underwhelming, and they still need a few more wins for that bowl invite. So if we look at Virginia Tech, we see high-powered offense. 29th in the country in total yards, 452 a game. 8th in the country in rushing, 262 yards rushing a game. They also put up around 35 points a game, and their quarterback, Hendon Hooker, running back, Khalil Herbert, are the catalysts of this offense. Hooker has just over 1,000 yards passing with 7 touchdowns, and Herbert has 850 on the ground with 6 touchdowns. The problem with the Hokies is their defense. They allow 30.6 points per game and have given up 63 points in their last 2 losses. They give up over 450 yards a game and are ranked 89th and 92nd in passing and rushing defenses. So the Hokies can put up points, and they will give up points. So let's look at Pittsburgh. We see if we can add the second ingredient to this bet that we're cooking up, and senior quarterback Kenny Pickett has close to 1,600 yards through the air this season to go along with 8 touchdowns. He also has 6 touchdowns on the ground. Vincent Davis, their running back, leading the team, but he only has 313 yards of rushing. So we know Virginia Tech has a terrible defense, and the passing game could spell trouble for the Hokies there. Pittsburgh, 45th in passing at 253 yards per game, and they're going up against the 89th ranked passing defense. They could gash the running defense of the Hokies, but I don't see Pittsburgh as having much of a rushing attack, seeing as their leading rusher only has 313 yards. Pittsburgh scores 27 points a game. They give up 23 a game. If I were to pick a winner, I would be leaning towards Pittsburgh in this one, but I don't want to pick a winner because I can see this game smashing the over 55 because of the terrible defense for Virginia Tech. and the fact that the passing game for Pittsburgh is going up against a below-average passing defense. Both teams put up 30 a game, and both teams allow more than 20 a game. The over's 5-1 in Virginia Tech's last 6 road games, 5-0 in Pittsburgh's last 5 games overall, 5-1 in Pitt's last 6 following a bye week. If you want to play a side, I would say Pittsburgh 3.5 plus 3.5, but the correct play and my lock for this one is the over 55.
I like it. Really good pick.
Thank you.
I'm going to take it down to LSU.
Okay.
Actually, it's a fade LSU.
Ooh, okay.
Woo, Big Suey. So sorry. We're going with Arkansas this week. And this is every bit as a fade LSU game as it is a play Arkansas game. So although I do like Arkansas a lot, Felipe Franks has converted me into a believer this year. He was absolutely just not really that good at Florida. Threw a lot of picks, was super cocky, blew bowl games. But he's reemerged this year. He's 138 for 202 through the air, 1,678 yards, 16 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions. This is the best Arkansas team I've seen in a decade since Darren McFadden.
Yeah.
So Felipe Franks really has reign around that team. And in the backfield with him, Smith, 78 carries, 441 yards. So they have pretty high production guys, and Burke's out at wideout, averaging almost 100 yards a game and 5 touchdowns. So doing really well. But on the other side of the ball, LSU is in shambles right now. So let's just go down the list here. They haven't played in 3 weeks.
Yep.
Not played in 3 weeks. They have to go on the road for a noon game. They're going to be rusty. It's true. It's an early morning game, first game in 3 weeks. There's one. They let Auburn score 48 points on them. I don't know if you guys haven't seen. Auburn isn't really this high-powered offense. Bo Nix is a great athlete. Auburn's offense efficiency isn't that bad, isn't that good. LSU is terrible on defense. Orgeron needs to fire Bo Pelini.
Yeah.
Bo Pelini is a fraud. Sorry if you big LSU fans out there, you should call for the firing of your own defensive coordinator too. You only have 2 wins this year. You won against the South Carolina team that just fired their head coach this week.
Yep.
So R.I.P. Will Muschamp. And you beat a Vanderbilt team who is quite literally the scum, the bottom barrel of the SEC every single year.
Yeah.
So congrats on beating your on the 2 worst teams in the conference this year. Stingley Jr.'s out. He's not playing this week. I don't know what his deal is. I don't know if he's nursed an injury. I don't know if he just doesn't want to play this year because his team's so bad. He's their best threat on defense on that team. And then on top of that, the biggest dagger for LSU is Miles Brennan is probably out for the rest of the year. Orgeron came out this week and said that he's probably done for the year with his injury. This leaves the ball in the hands of their backup, who, as we can see already this year, has not been playing that well. And then finally, another thing, you finally have controversy this week with Ed Orgeron. I'm reading articles this week that people are calling for him to be fired.
I mean, come on.
Okay, now this doesn't have to necessarily do with his performance. It's more related to a scandal cover-up from a couple years ago. But, let's just chill out for a little bit, LSU. We weren't keeping this energy when we were winning national championships, okay? Now that you lose a couple games, you actually start caring about scandals. Come on, okay?
Yep.
So he might be having a little bit extra pressure on him because he's reading blogs that are calling for his head. So I just think this is a perfect storm for an Arkansas Razorback as an underdog at home. Yeah, I'll take Arkansas plus the 2.
Yeah? You think Arkansas wins?
I mean, yeah.
It could happen.
Yeah, but
okay.
I'll take the 2 points for a little bit extra
definitely
insurance.
take the insurance. Okay, it's weird thinking that the defending national champions are 2-point underdogs or 2-point favorites
and against Arkansas.
And people still say I'd actually lean maybe even Arkansas. Oh yeah, possibly favored. So
this is just it's on par for 2020. I mean this is typical. But if you would have told me earlier this year, if you would have told me in June that the line for LSU was going to be -2 against Arkansas, I would have bet you my whole house on it that wasn't going to happen. So,
and you would have been homeless.
Yes.
All right. So, good pick. I like that one. Let's move on to Appalachian State at Coastal Carolina. Coastal is a 5.5-point favorite. Over-under set at 48. This is a noon kick on ESPN2. Coastal Carolina, they're looking to become the first ever 8-0 team in Sun Belt history in just their 4th season as an FBS program. Coastal Carolina is undefeated, sporting a top defense in the nation. They're allowing just 16.3 points a game. That's good enough for 11th in the country. And they gave up just 6 points in the last 2 games. In 10 straight quarters, they have not allowed a single touchdown in their last 10 quarters.
Yeah, their defense is really about it.
Yeah, their passing defense is top 10, only allowing 174 through the air per game. Rushing defense, 39th, allowing 135 per game. They get to pin their ears back and go after an Appalachian State offense that runs the ball well but cannot pass. I mean, Appalachian State is 10th in rushing. They have 261 yards on the ground per game, but they're 100th in passing, just 188 a game. So that marks them as the 31st overall offense. They score 32 a game, which is good enough for 44th in the nation. I still give the advantage there to Coastal Carolina. Coastal's coming off of a COVID bye after their game against Troy last week was postponed and actually rescheduled for next month. This gives Coastal and head coach Jamie Chadwell, who I think could become possibly the next coach of South Carolina.
He will.
Okay. This gives them extra time to prepare for Appalachian State. So Coastal also has the conference's best player, quarterback Grayson McCall. He has close to 1,400 yards passing, 16 touchdowns, just 1 interception.
1 interception.
1 interception is absurd. Quarterback on the other side, Zach Thomas, may not be able to play. He
got carted off last week, right?
Whiplash in last week's game against Georgia State. Yeah, and if he can't play, then the Mountaineers will turn to basically a lifetime backup, Jacob Huseman.
Yeah.
Either way, McCall is the best quarterback in this game. That continues to put the advantage on Coastal. I also want to look at a common opponent for this season. So I looked at these games, and I don't...
Wait, before you say it, I know you're going to talk about the Georgia State game.
How did you know?
Boom.
So I don't normally look much into this, but when something like this stands out, it kind of makes my case for a lock.
Oh, yeah.
You got to talk about it.
Yeah.
So Appalachian State played Georgia State last week and only scored 17 points. Coastal played them a few weeks before. They put up 51 points in a shutout win. Georgia State does not have a very good defense. They're 107th in scoring, 120th in pass defense, 91st overall. Coastal took care of business. App State had problems scoring. So if Appalachian State had problems scoring against a bottom-tier defense, what makes you think they're going to stand a chance at scoring any points against one of the statistically best defenses in the country?
And also, when we look at that comparable game, Appalachian State was home last week.
Yeah.
When Coastal Carolina went to Georgia State, they went there and dropped 51 points right on their face.
And allowed 0.
Yeah, no points.
That's,
so I'm with you here. I'm with Coastal -5.5.
Yeah, we're gonna be together on this one.
We're gonna fight on one. We're gonna agree on one.
Ooh,
so
wow,
I'm here with Coastal -5.5 with you. The only red flag I really see is if the players are pissed that Jamie Chadwell's gonna go to South Carolina. I've been looking at this guy. I think he's going to do the same thing Scott Frost did. So when Scott Frost was having all of his success at Central Florida and Nebraska was vetting him, Nebraska said, "We need you as our head coach." He said, "Hold on, I have to finish the season." I love that integrity. Many college coaches don't do that. They'll jump ship and go immediately when they see a better opportunity for them. Scott Frost didn't. I don't see Jamie Chadwell doing it.
And I think his players kind of realize that Coastal Carolina is not your typical college football program. So if your team is undefeated and is top 15 in the nation, and you're coached after a SEC school, fires their head coach and his name is the first one to pop up, you got to know that, all right, that's,
It's
nothing to be
Division I
pissed
football.
off about.
Yeah, it's a business. It's Division I football. I went through the same exact thing. I played football at a D3 school in college, and we had a really great season, and our coach got a head coaching job at a D1 school. I mean, yeah, it sucks for the kids that you don't get to play under the coach that you're recruited by, but this is a business. Like, they got to feed their families. This is a career move for him. I think he'll do it the right way.
Yeah, it happens all over college. I was playing for a Division II baseball team, and our coach went on to coach Division I.
Yeah.
None of the players were upset with him.
Oh, congratulations.
Like, good job, way to go.
Yeah,
And
you're
we
welcome.
followed him. So,
yeah.
so it's not that big of a deal, I don't think. I think they stay undefeated. And
Yeah, and if they don't, if App State doesn't come out with Zach Thomas on Saturday, this
they're
game's
screwed.
over.
Yeah, lifetime backup.
So
we're both taking Coastal -5.5. I
Yes.
love it. All right. I'm going to go one more. Or I got two more, but I'm going to go again just because I'm
go.
pretty.
I only got one more.
All right, I'm high on this game. Number 7, Cincinnati, 6-point favorite at UCF. The over/under 63.5. 3:30 kick on ESPN. Now, I didn't like Luke Fickell when he was at Ohio State. I've been very adamant about that. But I'm very quickly changing my opinion and jumping on the Fickell train with how he has coached this team and how he embarrassed ECU last week.
Yeah, Fickell will be up for a Power 5 job. I mean, I would interview him before Chadwell at Coastal Carolina.
Well, yeah, for sure. But listen, I am so speaking of last week's game against Eastern Carolina, I am so sick of the sportsmanship and not wanting to hurt the other team's feelings or
Ryan Day.
embarrass the other team's attitude. Yeah. Guess what? Go out there, play your game. If you embarrass a team,
They should have worked harder.
they should have been better. Last week was awesome. Fickell had his second string offense in. They get to fourth quarter. Yeah, let's run a fake punt. Fake punt.
Yeah.
And they had that game in hand. And then he continues to score and score and score. I loved it. And after the game, him and the other coach were a long talk on the field after the game. Didn't shake hands or anything.
Yeah, what did he end up saying about
I didn't even
the
look.
fake punt?
I didn't even look
because
into
the
it.
fake punt is kind of stupid. I mean, especially when you're up that. Like, what are you trying to prove? Why are you giving film away of a fake punt?
I don't think he's trying to prove anything. He's trying to work on stuff.
Right, but man, that's stuff to do in practice.
Well,
now
it was
you got
also
on film for somebody else.
It was
to
also
look
because
at.
of last year. ECU beat Cincinnati.
Okay.
So this was kind of like
did
a
they run
revenge.
it up last year? Or?
I don't know if they ran it up, but this was like a revenge game. Like,
Okay.
yeah, you guys caught us last year, but
don't expect that.
Yeah, it's not gonna happen
Still
anymore.
remember you're a little brother.
Yep. So Fickell knows that his team is damn good, and he also knows that they need style points to get into this college football playoff. He also knows that his team has a tough 3-game stretch to finish out the season, and it starts this week on the road against UCF. UCF's a good offensive team. Actually, they're the best offensive team in the country. They rank top, number 1, total offense and passing offense. 619 yards a game. That's nearing a all-time record. 396 passing yards a game. 11th in scoring. They put up 44 a game. 21st in rushing. 222 yards per game. This team can score and move the ball. But Cincinnati's defense is solid. I mean, 10th in total yards allowed, just 300. 20th in both passing and rushing yards, 188, 112 respectively. And 3rd in scoring. They only allow 12.4 points per game. This is going to be a show. And I would expect Golden Knights to score more than 12 points in this game. But I am expecting Cincinnati to hold UCF because of one key stat, and that's the turnover margin. UCF's offense ranks 113th in turnovers. Cincinnati's 3rd in takeaways. So, yeah, UCF is going to score, but the Bearcats' defense will cause turnovers, get the ball back to Desmond Ritter's offense. And that offense has a better matchup in this one. Cincinnati's 21st in total offense at 471. That's yards per game. 15th in rushing with 247 yards per game. 13th in scoring. They put up close to 42 a game. And then UCF on defense, 93rd in total defense, giving up close to 450 yards a game, 88th in rushing, 60th in scoring. They give up 28.7 points a game. So you can make a case that this one's going to go over the total of 63.5. And that was what I was originally going to go with. And I still might play it. But I'm going to say that the lock in this one is Cincinnati -6. The favorite is 4-1 against the spread in the last 5 meetings between the two teams. Cincinnati's 4-0 against the spread in their last 4, 5-0 versus a team with a winning record, and 5-1 in the last 6 following an against the spread win, while UCF is 1-5 against the spread in their last 6 games, 1-5 in their last 6 as home dogs, 1-6 in their last 7 home games, and 1-5 in their last 6 conference games. Luke Fickell and his team know that they need to show up and that they have a chance at making the college football playoff. So I don't expect them to lose. Cincinnati's legit, and they win this game by more than a touchdown. I'm doing Cincinnati -6 and possibly the over 63.5.
I like it.
Which one do you like? If you had to pick one or the other. I'm not saying that either one's right, but
I like probably the over.
The over?
Just because I feel like Cincy, even though they have a good defense, their offense is so good they could put up 40 points.
And I think UCF scores more than the 12 or 14 that Cincinnati's giving up,
UCF's
obviously.
blown a lot of opportunities to score throughout the season.
Turnovers,
it's just not going to be consistent. I'm probably going to unofficially take the over in this game.
Okay. So I might do both, but we're going to say the lock on this one is Cincinnati -6. I think Cincinnati wins the game pretty easily. All right. Go ahead.
All
what
right,
do you
I'll
got
take it
for
to
me?
my last game. We're going to take it to Palo Alto. Is it Palo Alto, California? I actually don't know. Or is that Texas? Kind of sounds like a Texas name.
Palo Alto's California.
Is that what Stanford is? Okay. I thought I was going the right way there. They're hosting Washington State this week. Washington State is +2 on the road at Stanford. This is a 10:30 kickoff, so this is real degenerate special for you on Saturday night. You're going to be relaxing. COVID is upticking, so we can't really go out. We're going to be getting real cozy on the couch for this 10:30 p.m. kickoff on Saturday.
Good.
And I'm going to rock with the Cougars here. They're under a first-year head coach. They're out of that air raid offense. They actually are playing pretty well. They are 1-1. But they've played both teams from Oregon. They ended up beating Oregon State pretty easily. Oregon State scored a couple points at the end of the game to make that look a little bit different on the box score than what it actually was. They played Oregon last week really, really tough. Oregon is the only team in the Pac-12 that even has a fighting chance to get in the big college football playoff. But Washington held with them most of the game until the fourth quarter. They got a quarterback. Last name De Laura. I don't know if you watched the game last week, but this kid's got flow coming out of his helmet with his hair, and he's got black hair. But he dyed the bottom half of his flow red, so when you see it coming out of the helmet, it matches the jersey. I didn't know how to feel about it at the beginning because I kind of think things like that are stupid.
With hair like that, you better be
good.
Yeah.
Kid is pretty good.
Okay.
So I let him slide last week. Played really well. Then Stanford last week got their quarterback back with Mills. He was 31 for 56, 327 yards against Colorado, and only 1 touchdown. Now I am a little worried about Stanford having this starter back, but Stanford doesn't want to play football this year, man. Stanford led the coalition in the Pac-12 to try to get this season canceled. They haven't showed up in any of their games. They got smashed by Oregon week 1. That was big odds. The odds makers in Vegas were way off in that one. And looking back, Stanford hasn't won a game since October 26th, 2019.
Jeez.
So against Arizona.
No, that's over a year.
Since then, they've lost to Colorado, who they lost to last week. They lost to Washington State, who they're playing this week. I mean, they lost to Washington State last year, 49-22. So, I mean, if that shows the level of there is a lot of carryover from year to year with these Pac-12 teams. I know Mike Leach isn't at Washington State anymore. They're better off without him.
Yeah.
So, give me De Laura. Give me the red flow. Give me the +2. I like Wazoo. They're a team that wants to be there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, you watch the Stanford game, and it does. It seems like they don't want to be there. They get their quarterback back from a false positive, which is why he missed that first game. And it's almost like they're grasping at any excuse they can use.
And their defense really is pathetic. I mean,
it helped with my over pick last week in that game. So
and they're allowing over 200 rushing yards a game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it's not good.
All right, was that your last game?
Yeah, that was last for me.
Cool. We'll go to my last game. So you know what that means? It's the Moneyline Moneymaker. We're also going to throw a pick in there as well, though. Number 14, Oklahoma State at number 18, Oklahoma. Oklahoma is a 7-point favorite. Over-under is 59.5. This is prime time, 7:30 p.m. on ABC, the Bedlam Series. It's here, and both teams are ranked. The higher-ranked team is the underdog. Both teams have quarterbacks named Spencer, and Oklahoma could be knocked out of the Big 12 championship game if they lose this game. Absolute bedlam in Norman, Oklahoma. This game should be pretty good, if not fantastic, and it will have a super matchup. A high-powered Oklahoma offense against incredibly stout Oklahoma State defense. Both sides are basically mirror to each other. Oklahoma, 10th in total yards at 515 a game, while Oklahoma State, 15th in total yards allowed at 311. Oklahoma's 9th in passing yards. They put up 350 a game, and Oklahoma State is 8th in passing yards allowed at 169. Oklahoma's 6th in points scored. They put up 46 a game. Oklahoma State is 12th in points allowed. They give up 17 a game. That's about as close as you can get in a game, let alone in a rivalry game. It's also close on the flip side of the ball, just not as dramatic. So when you have stats like this in a rivalry game, such high stakes on the line for both sides, you tend to throw those stats at the wall and look at who is playing in the games and those trends. Oklahoma has become basically quarterback U. They have another one in Spencer Rattler, who was compared to Kyler Murray by running back Jeremiah Hall this week. Rattler, he struggled early on, but he's found his way lately. But he doesn't have the experience that Spencer Sanders has for Oklahoma State. And Sanders has played in Bedlam and knows what to expect in an in-state rivalry game. Plus, Rattler has to go up against the toughest defensive opponent he has faced this season. Look for Oklahoma State to bottle up Rattler and give him all sorts of trouble. I'd give the advantage, a very slight advantage, to Spencer Sanders just because of the fact that the Oklahoma State defense is so good. Then we look at running back, and you got Chuba Hubbard, who's been beaten up this year. But the Cowboys still have a better rushing attack, as Oklahoma is known as a passing team. So your advantage goes to Oklahoma State in that. And finally, we'll check out in the trends. Oklahoma State 5-0 against the spread in their last 5 as road dogs, and the road team is 7-1 against the spread in their last 8 meetings, shaping up in Oklahoma State's favor in this one. They usually would need to beat Oklahoma twice to win the Big 12, once in the regular season, once in the championship game, but because Oklahoma lost early to Kansas State and Iowa State, the Cowboys would only need to beat them one time, and it could possibly end the Sooners' 5-year reign of conference titles. So intangibles play a big part in this game. Oklahoma State is going to feel looked over because they're the better team, yet they're the underdogs. Defense wins championships, and the Cowboys have one of the best in the country. So I'm going Cowboys to cover and win Bedlam. So we're going to go Oklahoma State +7, and the Moneyline Moneymaker, Oklahoma State +220.
That's bold. That's really bold.
You gotta be bold.
I don't hate it though. Oklahoma hasn't showed you anything impressive this year.
Right.
Spencer Rattler, freshman quarterback, going against the second best defense of the Big 12. WVU is the best defense of the Big 12, by the way. But
at home.
But yeah, Oklahoma State, I feel, should have a really good fighting shot at this game. So is this an official Moneyline Moneymaker?
Yeah, the Moneyline Moneymaker is at 5-5, so we're even. why not go with a nice bold pick? And we're
Yeah.
going to go with Oklahoma State to win Bedlam because Oklahoma State has a chance to be Big 12 champions and play in that championship game. What better way to do it than to beat Oklahoma now?
Exactly.
So that's my card for you. All right, you want to run down what you got then?
Yeah. Big Country's Week 12 card. I got Tulsa minus 6.5 on Friday night. Give me Coastal minus 5.5. Give me Nebraska minus 15.5. Give me Arkansas plus 2 points, and give me Washington State plus 2 points.
All right. My card, we got Auburn minus 10.5. Illinois plus 15.5. That is a fight with Big Country. Virginia Tech, Pittsburgh, the over 55. Coastal Carolina minus 5.5. That is a same pick. I don't know what we're calling that. We got to think of a name, but we're on the same page in that pick.
We'll think of a name.
we'll think of a name. Give us a name if you got one. Cincinnati minus 6 and Oklahoma State plus 7. Moneyline moneymaker as well. Oklahoma State plus 220. All right.
All right, guys.
I mean, we're back, and seeing as this is the 10th episode, we do have a little bit of news. We are officially going to be broadcasting this podcast with Buzzsprout. So you are going to be able to get it not only on YouTube, just like the first 9 episodes, but you're going to get it wherever you get all of your podcasts. So iTunes,
Yes.
Spotify, wherever you can think. So really excited about that. But please continue to like and subscribe on the YouTube page.
Thank you. Please like and subscribe. And more than anything, if you're liking the show, please share.
Yep.
I mean, the bigger we get, the better we get. We really appreciate you guys' support.
Yep, share it, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Again, if you ever have questions on picks, or if you want help with a pick that we did not cover in the podcast, comment on the videos below, or you can send us a DM on Twitter at Accountant Bets, at the CF Payoff Pod, or you can hit Big Country at
Big Country Bets.
All right. Well, that'll do it for us. Hopefully we come away with some winners. I'm feeling pretty confident.
Yeah, I'm feeling good.
So we'll see. But that's all I got. You got anything?
No.
All right.
Happy betting.
Yes, good weekend and happy betting.